Hello everyone, and welcome back to the channel for this episode 8 here on Monteith with me, Farmer Murphy. Well, we have jumped ahead a fair bit. It is August 2nd, as you can see, reasonably early in the morning, it's just past 6:30, and our money is at 295,000, and we currently have one contract. It's a plowing contract, and it is on the field here, right by the home place. Now, this used to be a field of corn. It was nowhere near ready to be harvested, so I'm guessing the farmer took it off as forage and now we can plow it. So Rebecca is actually going to work on that. The kids are off to the lake today. It's a beautiful day. So I'm going to get her set up and going on that. And then you and I are going to jump in the pickup truck and we're going to see what is new and talk a bit about why we have jumped so far ahead. So I will see you in just a minute. While Rebecca is going full tilt on that plowing contract, and we are heading down to our main yard here. But the reason that we have jumped so far ahead, basically from April to August, is simply because there were no contracts, with two exceptions in May that we'll talk about in just a minute. But first, let's take a look at what I've done here on the property we bought just at the end of the last episode. So we'll pull in here and we'll take a look. Well, as you can see, I have moved the silos out of here, the one that was along the Quonset and the two grain bins. They are no longer in this area and they have moved over here, the grain bins anyways. You can see I took the fence out along the side here and the back. I did leave it along the front because I'm thinking I might extend the fence and put some gates in here at the approaches, but I just haven't decided on that yet. So for the time being, I've left that there anyways. Now you can see this area here. I have leveled and graveled and put our two bins in. Now I did do some testing and they're better. They're not perfect, but if you make sure you've got the pipe fully extended to the full height, they still creep a tiny little bit, but they're usable. You don't have to reset them every time. So I'm happy enough with that. And the reason they're sitting here like this, and I made this large pad, is I'm going to put two more bins in down here with a grain dryer in the middle, and we're going to do our own grain dryer setup here. I've kind of tested it out. It seems to work okay, so I'm looking forward to that. Tested out the placement, I guess I should say. I didn't actually run any product through it, but theoretically it should work. I got rid of that old building that was sitting here, and this is the area where I'm thinking of putting the lime production. I just haven't moved it yet because I didn't want to spend that money. Once we've got this done, we were down to about 380,000, and so I knew there wasn't a lot of contracts appeared to be showing up in May, so I just let it sit there. But we will carry on with that when funds allow, but there's no hurry for us to do that. So like I said, we did two small contracts in May. They were fertilizing contracts, and I'll show you on the map here. They were on field 16 and field 9, and they were worth about 8,500 bucks. Now what I did is I went and leased a fertilizer spreader to do those contracts, and hopefully you're seeing a picture-in-picture running of the fertilizing on one of those fields. Now I say hopefully because this is being recorded before I've done the editing on the next New Frontier, where I was going to cut my teeth on the picture-in-picture. So hopefully that all went well, and you see a picture-in-picture of that going on. But those contracts were so small, and I knew they would be done so quickly. It just wasn't worth building an episode around. And I'm glad I didn't, because there was nothing else. No contracts in June or July whatsoever. So getting back to the fertilizer spreader, so I did lease this because I could lease it initially for $1,200, and then it's costing us $200 a month to keep it around. Now I have the mod that allows us to purchase leased equipment, so I'm hoping to buy that out. But if we were to buy it at the time, it would have taken $23,000 out of our bank account and only put 8.5 in. So this way we're ahead, and we'll get a lot of that money back if we do end up buying it. Now, in June, this came up for sale 50% off in the used market. It's the square baler I wanted to use on this map. So I bought it on spec. It actually came up the first day of June. And I was hoping we'd get some baling contracts and we could get it paid for. It was about 60 grand. But I'm thinking if we end up not using it, we could sell it and get our money back, or the lion's share of it anyway. So hopefully, though, we get enough contracts. If not, uh, we'll just let it go. I'm thinking after harvest we should get some baling contracts. So yeah, that I think brings you up to date. Like I said, nothing, not a single contract of any sort in June and July. And now we've got this early plowing contract here in August, and it did not come in till this morning. There was nothing for August 1st. So if there's any more of those early plowing contracts that come in, I'm assuming from corn taking for forage, I'm just going to do those off camera, and I'll keep track of them like I did with the fertilizing ones, and just update you when we come back. Now, I won't be investing in any more equipment at this point. I'm going to save everything. Hopefully this fall we can start doing some harvest contracts. So we're going to need a fair chunk of change to be able to buy used equipment or lease equipment so we can take advantage of those. Assuming they're going to come in. If not, if it's more plowing, I'll probably just do a lot of that off camera and bring you in for an update. But I'm not going to invest in any hard or harvest equipment in the meantime, just in case, we've bought enough equipment on spec. So I think that brings you up to date on everything so far. So we will be talking to you later this fall, hopefully doing some harvest work. But in any event, if it's nothing but plowing, I will bring you an update and let you know where we are financially. So for now, I think I'm going to leave you there, and hopefully we see you next month and we have a little bit more going on. So talk to you later. Welcome back to the farm, everyone. It is October 1st. It is almost spot on noon. I'm bringing you in a little bit later than you might expect, but there's a reason for that, but we'll get into that in just a moment. But first, let's get you caught up with what happened between August when we were together last and now here in October. Now, you might recall that Rebecca was working on a plowing contract there on field 5 in front of us. So obviously she completed that. That was worth 31K. Then the next day, the farmer called up and offered us the stone picking contract, which we took, and we got another 25K for that. So we got 56K off that field in August, but that was all the work we had. Now, it's even easier to explain what we did in September. Nada, nothing. But all I can say is what a difference a month makes. Because if we take a look here at the map, you can see we have a contract on virtually every field on the map. The only exception here is field 5, which we did in August. And then, I don't know, field 13 is being a stick in the mud for some reason. We didn't get anything on that. But we have a contract everywhere else of some description. So if we take a look at those, actually start at the top here, we have some baling contracts. Now, early this morning, we had a couple of these already arranged, But since then, this large one has come in. The cultivating contracts were offered early this morning, and so we got started on those. And Amanda's actually out there in field 10 working on that one. Now, the harvesting contracts this morning, we only had 2 or 3 small ones, so I didn't take those, and I was waiting to see what was going to happen as far as harvesting contracts went, to see if we would invest in equipment to get going on those. So that's basically what we were waiting for. And so they came in a little bit ago. So I grabbed them and decided we'd do those. We had these plowing contracts in this morning, and Rebecca is working on field 2 as we speak. So those 2 large plowing and cultivating contracts we got going on right away this morning. But I worked on the numbers and decided that it was worthwhile for us to jump into the harvesting game. Now we have got a pile of work. May look pretty daunting for the month, but we do now have basically 3 tractors that we can use and 4 of us, so we can get a fair bit done in parallel. Now, I'll probably get Sam set up to do some baling, and we are going to get set up to start knocking off those harvesting contracts. But obviously, we need some equipment. And so I've ordered up some equipment from Matt, and it should be delivered here shortly. Actually, we can start up here. So I've decided to lease all this equipment initially. So I've leased this Mac Pinnacle. I've leased one of those. I'm not going to show you the configurations. I'll show you what we're going to have when we actually get down to the shop. Because I am going to do some tweaks. I leased the Wilson trailer, and I'm going to take delivery on a, oops, where the heck did I go? Too far. Brand new S10 John Deere harvester. Again, that's going to be leased, and the appropriate header. Now, we have more than enough money at $329 that we could buy the truck and trailer if we wanted to, but I'm leasing all of this to keep as much cash on hand as possible, because we should easily be able to buy this harvester out. I have the lease to own mod on, so once we get a few these contracts under our belt, we'll be able to buy out the lease on that harvester, because it'll be the most expensive item to lease. And then as our month goes and the finances come in, we'll just buy out leased items, the ones we're spending the most money on. Now, what we don't buy out, I may end up returning, or I may decide to hang on to, but that's a decision for a later date. But all of that gear should be on its way to our shop. So I'm going to jump in the truck here and head down there, and we'll take a look at what we've got, and we'll get set up on some harvesting contracts. So we'll see you down there. Well, there is our harvesting equipment as it currently stands. Now, I didn't mention about the pipe for putting into our bin, or this drive over conveyor. I actually bought both of those items. They were both just a little over 20 grand each. This drive over conveyor means that you don't have to keep swinging this arm here in and out. You can just get it in place, bring the conveyor up to it, and then just keep driving over the conveyor to dump your trailer for your belly dump trailers. Is really, really handy. So they were like 21 and 22,000. Now our truck, we leased that, and the truck was like 7 grand and to lease initially, and it'll be about roughly half of that for every hour we use it. The trailer was, I'm gonna have to look that up, I can't remember. The trailer was 3 grand. Again, it'll be about half of that'll be the hourly portion. Then the harvester over here, our fully loaded S7 900 John Deere beast, it was 21 grand to lease, so it'll have about a $10,000 an hour fee on that as we use it. And then the header was 7 grand, so it'll have about around a $3,200 per hour lease. So obviously you can see why we want to pay this sucker off as soon as we can. So we might as well continue talking while we're harvesting here. So let's get this started up. Take a look around. Wow, pretty fancy. Let's get her fired up and lowered down here. I don't know. These bigger harvesters I usually find more difficult to do in cab, so I think we'll move out of cab. Now, there are, oops, we had her in reverse for some reason. There's a couple things that are conspicuously missing. I think that was this. We don't want to. Oh, there we go. There is no auger wagon. Well, we don't have an auger or a tractor to pull an auger wagon, I should say, available. They're busy, but I may look at getting a small auger wagon to make the harvesting a little bit more efficient, because right now we're just going to have to take the harvester over to the truck. I mean, we can move the truck on the green belt here and move it as close as we can, but we're going to have to just go to it. But we just don't have a tractor available to pull a grain cart right now. But that'll change once those cultivating and plowing contracts are done. Then we'll take a look at doing something at that point. And I also haven't got the header trailer yet for the header. There's a couple contracts here right near the shop. It was just congested enough already that I'll get that here when we need it, when we need to move to a different field. Now, the reason I went for the full-blown, John Deere is we've got a lot of work to do. We need to get these fields done as quick as we can. And we're going to need a harvester of our own of a significant size. We'll probably end up actually with X9s, but didn't have the time to go with a smaller harvester. We wouldn't be able to take all the contracts on. And like I said, I will have the money. I'm certain to buy this out, harvester and probably the headers. The truck will be the last thing we'll buy out, just because it's not going to have nearly the hours on it. And it'll just kind of be a balancing act between having funds to get us through the winter. Can we afford to buy out the lease and still have enough money, or are we going to have to turn those units back in and buy them next year? Now, I obviously cannot show all this work that's available this fall, so I'm not going to show any of the cultivating work. I think I would like to show this episode a bit of the baler, the square baler work, and I'm a little hesitant to rely on picture-in-picture without having done that, but having been successful with editing that in. But I may gamble further, because I've already done it once this episode, so why not a second time, and show Sam doing some baling with our new baler. He's out with the small baler and the 7810 right now, but we need one of the larger tractors to use the square baler. We have both round baling and square baling contracts that we need to do. So I'm thinking we'll show some of this harvest unloading into the bin. We'll see where we're at for time by the time we get to that point, and then that'll determine whether I can squeeze in a little bit of baling. Oh yeah, that tree is kind of close there, isn't it? In this fashion, or I might just throw it up as picture-in-picture and you can see it, and that means we'll definitely take a look at it in detail when the next opportunity arises. Oh, Guess I'm going to have to go right on the edge of the field there. There's just no room. There we go. But you can see these small fields with this large harvester will knock these suckers off pretty quick. They don't take too long at all. So, getting back to what I was talking about. So, after this episode, I think that's all you'll see of this fall work. I'll get it all done then, and I'll track the monies for you so we know where we're at. And then we'll blast through the winter. Now, there will probably be some follow-on plowing, rock picking contracts after this month. I'm suspecting anyways, that's what happened last year. And I'll just continue to do those off camera because we've seen quite a bit of that. And I think it's time for the series to start making some moves. We showed the initial struggle. We're kind of in a pretty good place for contracting. We're missing now the spring stuff like the planters, the rollers, that sort of thing. And it may be that we'll have to we won't get any contract work for that. Then we'll just have to show that when we have our own fields. But I'm kind of I'm thinking this spring to buy our first field. I'm hoping we can hold enough money back that we can do that. And so we'll have some of our own work to do. It won't just all be contract. It's kind of my hope. But yeah, I think it's just time that we kind of move things, pick up the pace a little bit instead of repeating the same thing over and over again. Some of that repeat stuff, just do it off camera, like I say, track the funds, and then come in and show what we're going to do with the funds that we earned, what equipment we've upgraded or bought. Oh, this is going to suck. It looks like we might be full before we get to the truck. What I might do here is, I know it's kind of crazy, but I might cut across country here, see if I can make it to the truck in a straight line. I don't know if you would actually do that in real life, but saves. I can't drive the truck to the harvester, and I don't want to drive the harvester all the way around the field the other direction to get it looked in. So a little unorthodox. That's the word I was trying to get out, but it'll save us in the long run. Now we'll get some extra crop from these contracts, as we do here on Farming Simulator. I suppose I was going to say unrealistic to the. Skip that up, shut it down, wiggle our way over here. But I suppose if that's the way the contract was set up, that you wanted a little of the product off the field, or the crop off the field, I suppose it could be set up that way. But anyways, we'll keep that, and we'll have that to sell, so that'll help our coffers, and that best price will happen through the winter sometime. It's not going to be too bad on these little fields. Where it's going to be awkward is on the big suckers. There goes Amanda there in front of us in the cultivator. Whoa. Keep forgetting to change direction. But we may have a grain cart by that time. We're not going to have the horsepower to run a big one, that's for sure. So we do have one. It won't, might only hold a couple hopperfuls at best. All right, let's try and clean up our mess here a little bit. We'll go with a good sized corn header, and that'll be more money than this header too, at least I'm sure. We'll get a folding header for that, so we don't need a header trailer. I think when we buy this field, we might do a little trimming on some of those trees so they're not quite so close to the edge. Kind of not very handy. I guess I could have put a worker or used course play, and so I could show some different camera angles. But you know, nice spanky new harvester like this, I want to drive it myself. There'll be plenty of opportunity to do the fancy camera angles we can get when we use course play in the future. This is not the last time you're going to see this in action, that's for sure. I think we'll empty the hopper here and then we'll head back up. So I was just thinking, I think what I'll do is I'm going to leave you there. I will get this field done, and what I'll do is I'll bring you back in on a corn harvest, and I'll show the unloading into the bin and a little bit of corn harvest. And we'll see where our time is at that point. So I will carry on with this field. It won't be too much longer, and then we'll get organized and find a cornfield to do. So we'll catch up with you in just a little while. Well, there goes Rebecca in the harvester. Actually, let's jump out and catch up to her, and we'll run around with her for a bit. She finished that large plowing contract and she wanted to do something different, which I can't blame her. So she came to run the harvester for me. So it allowed me to do some carting, really helpful in this large field. And you can see we did lease a grain cart. It's sitting back over there. Kinsey grain cart is behind the Deutz. So that cost us $3,000. And then this folding corn header, it cost us $7,000 to lease. And of course we'll have hourly charges of half of that. But even with all the equipment leasing we've done, our money is up to $365K, so we're ahead of the game. But that's because Rebecca completed, like I said, that large plowing contract, and the cultivating contracts are all done. You can see that Rebecca forgot to turn the straw swath off when she started out. It's kind of nice to have someone else to blame for these mistakes, so I don't always have to take the brunt of it. So Amanda has got the plow on the John Deere. I know it's kind of underpowered for the plow, but it would be underpowered for the grain cart too, and I'd rather have the speed on the grain cart. So she's off working on the plowing contracts, but none of those are very big. Sam is continuing to work on the baling. We are getting close to being out of time. So hopefully you will have seen Sam in picture doing some baling. If not, if it didn't work out, well, you will get to see it at some point for sure. But it'll be next year likely. Now you can see the shadows are getting a little long. The day is scooting by. Oh man, that doesn't really look like a Rebecca, does it? See, is that it? Nope, definitely not. Yeah, so we'll just ignore that. Rebecca is much better looking. So we are making, decent progress today. Like I said, the cultivating ones are done. The large plowing one is done. We're working away on the harvesting, but we still have some big fields to harvest. So I'll likely be working on that till well into dark, I'm thinking. I will try and shut it down around midnight. Try not to run much later than that, but I really would like to try and get these wrapped up. Probably won't ask the family to work quite that late, but I'll certainly put in some longer hours to ensure we get these contracts knocked out. Now I think if we look, I believe, yep, stone picking contracts are starting to come in on the plowed fields. Likely not going to be able to touch those at all. I'd be shocked if we have the time. Like, I'm not 100% confident that we will get everything done that we need to with the contracts we have. We might have to end up bigging off a couple. Take a look from in cab here before she's totally full. I guess there isn't much to see but corn, is there? Well, up close and personal with the corn. Oops. Double click. Oh, she's just about full. All right, well, I'll leave you there, and I'm going to dash over to the Deutz, and we got to catch up with her and get her unloaded. So I'll catch up with you in a minute. So there's the Deutz with our Kinsey grain cart. This is where the speed of the Deutz is kind of nice for carting like this. Now, unfortunately, the cart isn't sized very well to the truck or the harvester. I usually like to kind of have so I can take 3 or more loads out of the harvester, but this will only hold 2. And I usually like my grain cart to fill my truck up. Well, none of those things are working out, but this is all that we could pull with the horsepower we had, so we just have to make do. You got to do what you got to do. At least we got a grain cart. Now, this I might not buy out. I might just return it, because hopefully next year we'll have some more horsepower and we can have a large grain cart. So I likely won't buy this out. We'll just use it for this year. So this won't quite fill up the grain cart, but it will be enough in here to fill up the truck. And then we'll go down and take the truck down and see how our grain handling facility works out, such as it is right now. And then that will be an episode, I'm afraid. But hopefully you found it to be an interesting one. We made some good progress. I'm really happy to be harvesting. And like I said, at the end of it, our money should be up and we'll have a harvester to boot. May not have all the headers in that, but we'll likely keep them at least if we can't afford to buy them out. Simply because there are the ones we want, and we can get a portion of the money we spent on lease back if we hang on to them and buy them out. So it's better than starting over. Boy, she got a little sloppy here in a couple of places. I'll have to talk to her about that. Actually, second thought, I better just let sleeping dogs lie on that account. Now, I'm going to do, once we're done this episode, I'm going to do all that work, the rest of the work for this month off camera, and I likely, even if there's some stone picking or plowing things or cultivating that we pick up, that's what it would be in the coming month or two before we get the winter break. I'm just going to carry on and do all of that off camera and report the results, like I said earlier, just so we can speed things along, because it won't be anything you haven't seen before. I'm definitely not going to go to like just an update format kind of thing. We'll always be doing farming every episode, but it's more about what we do with the money and how we progress. Should be a cab for this. More so than the actual mechanics of the farming, but we'll always show that, and we'll definitely want to show any new equipment, but it's like I said, more about how we're progressing on the challenge from here on, because we've pretty much broke the back of the struggle, I think. Now, I didn't look this way. Hopefully no one's coming, because I'm going to need to take the whole road. This Wilson trailer is a little bit long. Whoa, that was close. Still, I must have hooked the ditch a little bit. That's where the B train is nice. It holds more, and it ends up, even though it's longer, it's got a better turning radius, but it's just out of reach for us. Out of reach right now, anyway. We'll take up the whole road here again. It's difficult to keep this trailer from hooking into the ditch, I find. These approaches aren't very big. I might need to widen them out a little bit. See how we make out this time. If we tweak the frame too much, we just return it, because technically it is a rental. Alright, now. Looks like that might have moved just a hair. But it's been a while since I set this up. And there it goes. And if we jump out, hopefully we see it. Now I'm just going to dump one hopper in because this, yeah, there it goes. Oops, I went too close. There it goes. It's going in. Now, I have I'm gambling that we're going to have at least one hopper full of excess corn. I'm sure we will. If we do run short, I can always come and grab it. But I wanted to show this working, and didn't want to wait until I did all the off-camera work, so we were at the end of harvest. But that's how it works. It's pretty darn slick. But like I said, this other hopper furl I'll take to the sell point. Now, I did add more horsepower to the farm. Look at this beauty here. 50 whole horsepower. It only cost $7,500 at auction, but I got it to move these pipes and the conveyor around. The conveyor, you can't drive it. The pipe you can drive, but it's painfully slow. So that really improves things, and that's all you need. It's this little sucker here, and I can move those around no problem. Okay. But I think that will be an episode there. So if you have any feelings one way or another about the format, the change in a format, just slight change, but oh dude, I forgot about that ditch again. I'll tweak the frame one more time. Anyways, if you have any thoughts on that, let me know one way or another. But if you're still with me, I really appreciate you watching. And if you haven't already, I encourage you to hit that like and subscribe button. And if you want to see when other content like this land, hit that old notification bell. But for this episode here on Monteith, it's Farmer Murphy signing off.